So my name is Gerardo Benavides. I'm an organizer with Housing Our Neighbors, and I work at the Yes Drop-In Center for Homeless Youth. First thing I want to say right now, actually, is can we give it applause for everyone who's spoken so far, shared all their stories. I think, given the circumstances, a lot of this is this organizing, this community building is beautiful to see. Obviously, whether we're renters, whether we're people experiencing homelessness, whether we're allies, we're all in this together. We're all fighting in this together. So, give a round of applause to everyone here. So, as a member of Housing Our Neighbors, myself, Mark, Rachel, and others, we've been frequenting the shelters in the city system for the last few weeks, last few months even, talking to folks, organizing with folks, and really are just so proud and happy of all the organizing happening and all the folks who are leading this charge. As part of our organizing, we went over some surveys. We surveyed about 56 residents in the shelters, and that's only a fraction of the hundreds who still remain in shelter, still remain in encampments, still remain unsafely housed. And we can't forget about those folks. We can't forget about any of these folks who lack, permanent housing. And that's really what we're here for. We're here whether we're renters, whether we're people experiencing homelessness. We're really fighting for permanent housing for all. I also just want to say that we need to very explicitly state that this housing system has failed us and that our leaders have failed us. That it's a system, but that there are people operating within this system. That it's Mayor Young explicitly, it's Governor Hogan, who are not providing the type of safety and the type of housing that everyone truly needs to really guarantee that housing is a human right for all. So again, to circle back to the surveys, we went over to the shelters to talk with folks, to collect this information, to organize, to bring people here. And I just wanted to read off some of the facts that the surveys show that unfortunately paint a sickening and deplorable picture of what's happening in the shelters right now. So of the people we've talked to, only a quarter of residents name having regular access to PPE like gloves and masks. Only half of residents say that areas that are frequently touched are being sanitized regularly. Over 40% of residents say that they don't have the adequate space to keep the 6 feet of distance that are recommended per CDC guidelines. Only a third report always being screened for symptoms, and that testing is irregular and uneven. And that yet many more report that staff are not taking the proper precautions. They're not frequently wearing masks and washing their hands. And I know we've heard a lot of testimony, a lot of quotes from folks who have been into the shelter system, and I just wanted to read off a few other quotes from people. Quote, "Staff are protected, residents are not. There's constant hunger and lack of protection. Basic soap for hand washing is usually not available. Simply put, they need to reread the handbook. Showers are poor, it's extremely cold, food is extremely cold." It's downright deplorable what's happening in the shelters. The city is saying they're acting, but really they're not. Their inability to act is going to lead to inevitable death, inevitable infections at a time where a global pandemic is still underway. Even though the city has moved people into hotels, from what we've been told, people from the Pinder Hughes shelter are going to be moved from hotels back into the shelter system by the beginning of August. And that still, there is no safe plan for permanent housing for all. So I'll end by just saying that the city needs to act now, that we need to provide housing for all, we need to guarantee to empty the shelters, that housing is a human right, and that the city should act that as such, that housing is a human right, to protect everyone and prevent further needless death and infection. Thank you all.